You guys have been asking to see some more small form factor cases. We've got something interesting to check out today. It's this. It's the ZX-1 from IQUNIX. It's a 10.6 litre small form factor case that supports 240mm AIOs. So let's see what makes this itty bitty little case tick. Let's jump in. I think it's worth mentioning that for this case in particular, the accessories are going to be one of the most useful things with building in this case. This case is highly modular. All of the front panel connectors aren't actually connected because it's optional. I think this is interesting because if you're building in a certain order, you can get cables out of the way. So just little things like, you've got this front panel cable here. This is for the front panel USB 3.2 or 3.0. It's got a USB type A cable here, which plugs into the case, and this plugs into your motherboard. The same applies for front panel audio. This is something that I never ever use on cases. And the same goes with powering the front panel as well. If you don't need to use half of the stuff up the front, you don't need to plug this in. The power cable is not even installed in the case, so this gives you some options depending on which way you want to rotate it and whatnot. It's got quite a detailed user guide in terms of cases. Everything that I'm talking about in this video here is covered in the manual. It quite literally covers absolutely every little facet of this case. Got this handy dandy little case that has all of the additional screws and whatnot. There's an included 2.5-inch SSD or spinning rush drive adapter bracket. There's also an included PCIe Gen 3 riser cable. For the money that you're paying for this case though, it would have been much more attractive to have a Gen 4 riser cable. I'm not sure why they haven't done it that way. There's also this included screwdriver, yep. But inside of the handle, if we pop it out, you can see that it's got all of the bits included. Panel removal. Basically, I just put my hand inside the case. Everything's magnetic and it's a very nice tight finish. We just pop it off with the magnets that are inside of the case. The whole case construction is super duper solid. We'll just continue with doing that the same way. Pull off the panel, but I just pushed through the inside, but there is probably another way to do it, but you know, for now, this is how we're doing it. And the top panel removal is the same. It's also magnetic. You can quite literally just lift it off. Even this top grill is metal as well. For motherboard support, obviously, it's only mini-itx. You won't be able to fit mini-itx in here at all. And for air cooler height, if you wanted to air cool in the water-cooled version for some reason, you're looking at 55 millimeters. For front panel connectors, you've got your power switch and power LED for the power button and power LED that is integrated into the front of the case. Power supply supported supports SFX and SFXL power supplies. The bracket that this attaches to can also be removed. These 4 screws can be removed for the power supply bracket, and your power supply will mount to this bracket right here. For GPU support, you're looking at about 308 mils, so something like this 3080 Ti Founders Edition will go in very, very easily. And other cards like this Radeon 6800 XT Reference Edition will also fit quite easily. This will give you an idea of what you can fit in here. Always double check the product page for your GPU if you're looking at buying GPUs for small form factor systems like this one here. Front or top panel IO, USB type A, microphone, USB type C, a headphone jack, and another USB type A port. You can feed in a 240mm AIO from the top as well, and you feed the tubes out through here. So 240mm is the max you can do here, which we're going to be doing in this build. To make for easier AIO mounting as well, there's 6 screws. There's one here, and screws in each corner, and that allows you to lift the entire bracket out. It takes the front panel connectors with it, and you just lift it all out and you can mount it outside of the case. That's not entirely the whole story though. You have other options. You can do a custom loop with something like this little barrow pump reservoir and water block combo. I'm not going to be using that in this video here, but this is actually an option if you wanted to do custom water cooling in a case like this. For 2.5-inch SSDs or 2.5-inch spinning rust, you can mount it in this space here. Now this is in front of the GPU and it will attach to that bracket. Now I have seen some people fitting fans in this gap as well. I'm not going to be doing that in this case. That's just about all you need to know for the ZX-1 for now. What we're going to do is the usual. We're going to build with it, we're going to test the thermals, and I'm going to let you know if this thing is worth your hard-earned money. Let's jump in. Alright ladies and gents, I hope you enjoyed the build in the IQUNIX ZX-1, but as usual, let's dive in and take a look at those thermals. Now what you're seeing on your screen is the thermals are actually not too bad for a case like this, considering we've got nowhere really to intake air from the bottom. Everything is coming in from the sides and exhausting out the top. Now, one thing I did notice is that on the side panels, they were ice cold to touch, which is expected, but they were a lot cooler than I thought they would be. And I think a lot of that's to do with the composition of the case itself. One thing about these GPU thermals are, again, like the G-Skill case that we did a little while ago, I wanted to see what the story was with these blow-through cards. Your card's not gonna catch on fire, but it does get quite warm. So I wouldn't really recommend a blow-through card, but at the same time, it's not going to destroy your system. So yeah. All right, let's chat about some of the parts that I use in this build. The CPU is the Intel Core i9-11900K. I chose this CPU because this is quite literally the only CPU that I have available right now for an ITX build. So yeah, it is what it is. The motherboard is the Gigabyte Z590i AORUS Ultra. To cool the 11900K, I used the Phanteks Glacier One 240 mph. I didn't put that pump top on it because I felt like you can't see it and it doesn't help the thermal performance of this cooler. And because this is kind of like a more industrial style case, I felt like it would just make sense not to add any RGB if I didn't need to. The RAM is 16 gigs of AORUS RGB memory rather, at 3600 megahertz. The GPU is the NVIDIA RTX 3080 Ti Founders Edition. The power supply is a Li 750 watt SFX power supply. It's one of their new ones. It's got those nice sleeved cables and all that jazz. Yeah, and that's basically it for the parts. I'll put a PC part picker list down below if you want to see what everything was that I didn't mention in the video, but that's basically the whole deal. Okay, how was this case to build in? I was very, very surprised. This case is, I'm gonna say it, it's probably the easiest small form factor case I've ever built in, because, not just because of how modular it is with putting the AIO in, I felt like they've just given just enough space for stuff. So even cable managing the cables coming out of the power supply, there's an area underneath the power supply where you can just jam everything. There's these nice lips around the edge where you can kind of hide all the cables and wires and everything as well. And just overall, I think it's pretty well executed. Like, even if you look here on this side of the case, usually sandwich cases look quite like filled up, but this looks empty. Right? It's really good. So the power cable to the power supply runs underneath the GPU. I've got the power cables to the GPU running that way. If I pop off this side panel, which you're gonna see in the B-roll and you probably saw through the build process, look how clean that is. Like, it is exceptionally clean. Even when you see things like, it doesn't look like the AIO tubes are going to fit in here. They fit in perfectly. The gap up here for them's perfect to run through. And I just feel like IQUNIX has put quite a bit of thought into this whole design. Like, the fact that you can remove the whole radiator and fan bracket at the top made it so much easier. I actually built this system a couple times in different orders off camera to see which the best order to go in was. The order that you see in this video is the order that I would probably recommend building this in. This is a wonderfully executed case. I'm gonna say this again, wonderfully executed. As I mentioned with the cable management, everything just has their own place. Everything fits in there perfectly. And I think they've done a pretty nice job with this case. This is one of the better quality small form factor cases that I've used. Claire, tell us the price. Yell it out. What's the price for the water-cooled version?
$269.
269 US dollars. I don't know if that includes tax and shipping and all that. I'm guessing it's not free shipping, but
that's on sale.
It's on sale at the moment. But what's the non-sale price?
The non-sale price is $319.
319 US dollars, not on sale. 269 on sale. So yeah, this video is obviously not sponsored by IQUNIX. It's quite an expensive small form factor case, but at the same time, let me just rephrase that. Every small form factor case is expensive, but the build quality materials of this may or may not justify that for you. So yeah, at the end of the day, I think this is a very, very well executed small form factor case. This is going onto my list of some of my favorite small form factor cases now. The right size, the right thermal performance, and it looks really cool. Don't you dare go anywhere, because if you like the music I make, all the music is available on Patreon. I'm your boy Nick with GearSeekers. You peak, we seek, and it's time to engage cinematic mode. I don't know why I said it like that. Yep, stick around. Thanks for watching. love me anymore? Why do you treat me so badly? Oh, Bindi.